1. Choy soy sauce, the chemical shortcut masquerading as tradition. It looks like a familiar staple on the grocery shelf. That red label? Instant nostalgia for anyone who grew up tossing it into a stir-fry or drizzling it over rice. But peel back the branding, and what's inside that bottle isn't heritage. It's chemistry in disguise. Choy doesn't follow the slow, patient art of natural fermentation. Instead, it goes the route of acid hydrolysis. What that means in plain terms: instead of fermenting soybeans over months, the proteins are broken down in hours using hydrochloric acid. That's not seasoning, it's lab work. The taste gives it away. That metallic punch when it first hits the tongue, followed by a bitter aftertaste? Not what traditional soy sauce is supposed to deliver. And here's the concern. During this rapid processing, a compound called 3-MCPD can form. It's been studied for years due to its links to kidney and reproductive damage in animal testing. And sodium? 1 tablespoon of Choy packs about 900 milligrams, nearly 40% of a kid's entire daily intake. Instead of flavor developed through fermentation, what's really in the bottle is saltwater colored to look convincing. The worst part? It didn't start out this way. Older generations remember when Choy actually used slower brewing methods. But as production scaled and the market demanded speed, the shortcuts crept in. Cost-effective? Sure. Authentic? Not even close. So if the goal is to bring rich, layered flavor to the table, Choy isn't the bottle to grab. It's not traditional, it's not safe for long-term use, and it's definitely not worth trading flavor for factory chemistry. 2. Kikkoman less sodium soy sauce. Not as heart-friendly as it sounds. Seeing less sodium on a label feels reassuring, especially for those watching blood pressure. And with a trusted name like Kikkoman, it feels like a safe bet. But scratch beneath the surface and things get murky. To reduce salt, companies often replace it with something else. In this case, potassium chloride. Sounds fine at first, until considering how that interacts with common medications. Seniors on heart drugs, especially AC inhibitors, are at risk. Potassium levels can spike, which leads to complications that land people in ERS, not just uncomfortable bloating. There's also corn syrup in the mix. Wait, sweetener in soy sauce? Yep. To balance the taste after the sodium drop, flavor enhancers and sugar sneak their way in. That gives it a strange aftertaste, sweet and slightly off. And here's the kicker. It still has 575 milligrams of sodium per tablespoon. Not exactly a low-salt miracle. Plus, the potassium isn't clearly called out unless someone's squinting at fine print. This version of soy sauce targets the very people it could harm the most. It's a marketing solution to a medical problem, but not a solution that actually serves those it claims to help. And that's dangerous territory. If cutting sodium is truly necessary, the better approach is using authentic, naturally brewed soy sauce sparingly. At least that way, there's no cocktail of unintended interactions. 3. Great value soy sauce. Cheap comes at a price. It's tempting. The bottle is less than $2. The label says naturally brewed, and it looks just like the more expensive brands. But here's the thing. Real fermentation takes time. 6 to 18 months of time, to be exact. Great value cuts that down to 3 or 4 weeks thanks to industrial shortcuts. Enzymes and manipulated temperatures rush the process. What ends up in the bottle is salty and dark, sure, but it lacks the complexity, the depth, and the nutritional value of real soy sauce. Taste-wise, it's thin. The flavor? One-dimensional. It's more like salty water with coloring than a sauce that should bring balance and umami to a dish. Now think about production costs. Traditional soy sauce can cost $3 to $4 per bottle, just in raw materials, fermentation space, and quality control. Great value sells for under $2. That price gap has to come from somewhere. And it's not from efficiency. It's from cutting corners. It's also worth noting, the speed and additives required to mimic proper fermentation don't come without consequences. These products often rely on sodium and artificial ingredients to fill in the gaps. And when you use more of it to make up for the lack of flavor, you burn through that bargain bottle fast and ingest way more sodium along the way. Not so cost-effective after all. 4. Kum Kee Premium. Soy sauce, premium packaging, basic contents. It's got a gold label, fancy trim, and a price tag to match. At first glance, it looks like the pinnacle of quality. a bottle that says you're paying for the best. But inside, not quite what the label implies. Kum Kee's premium soy sauce contains sodium benzoate, caramel coloring, and chemical flavor enhancers, just like the cheaper brands it sits next to. All that premium talk starts to fade when the ingredient list starts sounding like a chemistry set. Now, that's not to say there's no history behind the brand. The company has been around for generations. But what used to be heritage has now become marketing. Production happens in industrial facilities, not centuries-old brewhouses. The traditional methods on the label refer more to the idea than the actual process. When taste tested next to true naturally fermented soy sauces, Kum Kee often comes across as loud, salty to the point of overpowering, with a sharpness that hints at artificial enhancement rather than natural aging. It's not just about flavor, it's about value. People pay extra for what they believe is a carefully crafted product. But if the ingredients and the process don't justify the price, then the bottle becomes all style and no substance. For the same cost, there are brands that skip the chemical enhancers altogether and focus purely on slow, careful fermentation. That's what real premium should mean. 5. Soy sauce takeout packets. The hidden risk in tiny plastic pouches. They come with sushi, dumplings, fried rice. They're convenient, familiar, and often tossed into lunch trays or bento boxes without a second thought. But these tiny plastic packets, they top the list of soy sauce offenders, and for good reason. In 2020, an investigation found that many of these packets didn't even contain fermented soybeans. No soy, no fermentation, just water, salt, corn syrup, and caramel coloring. It's soy-flavored liquid, not actual soy sauce. The food service industry uses them because they're cheap, shelf-stable, and easy to portion. But the problem is who ends up consuming them. Nursing homes, hospitals, schools, places where people often have dietary restrictions and need real nutrition. Taste-wise, it's immediately off. Sharp, slightly chemical. It clings in the mouth in the worst way. And from a health perspective, it brings excessive sodium without delivering the amino acids and glutamates that traditional soy sauce provides. Even worse, the lack of transparency. These packets often bypass the strict labeling requirements that bottled sauces go through. No full ingredient list, no disclosures, just a packet with the word soy sauce that may contain none of the actual stuff. For anyone looking out for their family, especially elderly loved ones in care facilities, it's worth checking what's really being served. Those little packets might be doing more harm than flavoring good. Now for the good news, the 2 soy sauce brands you should actually buy. Let's shift gears. After all that disappointment, there are still brands out there doing it the right way. Sticking to tradition, skipping the shortcuts, and honoring the fermentation process that gives soy sauce its soul. Safe. Pick one. Kikkoman. Naturally brewed soy sauce. Fermentation done right. Yes, Kikkoman makes the list again, but this time it's for their original naturally brewed version. Not the less sodium variant, not the flavored stuff. Just the classic formula, brewed with time and care. This version sticks to the basics. Whole soybeans, roasted wheat, water, and salt. No artificial shortcuts, no chemistry experiments. Just months of natural fermentation, letting enzymes do what they do best, develop layers of flavor. The result? A beautiful amber color. A rich aroma that smells like something crafted, not manufactured. Taste-wise, it flows smoothly, salty then subtly sweet, with umami that lingers and adds depth instead of just saltiness. It's also versatile. Marinades, stir-fries, dipping sauces, it holds up to heat and complements food rather than overpowering it. And because it's so flavorful, less is needed to season a dish. That means lower sodium intake naturally, without relying on replacement chemicals. That's a real win for health-conscious families. This is soy sauce as it should be, honest, authentic, and full of flavor. Pour it into a spoon and watch how it moves. Not thin like colored water, but with a gentle viscosity that signals real aging. It clings just enough to coat, enhancing each bite without drowning it. When warmed in a pan, it releases a nutty aroma, subtle but unmistakable. There's a warmth to it that speaks to slow brewing, not fast-track chemistry. And unlike the sharpness of rushed sauces, it rounds out flavors instead of slicing through them. In ramen, it deepens the broth. In marinades, it brings meat to life. Even as a simple dip for dumplings or sushi, it adds a balance that elevates rather than distracts. Chefs often describe it as clean, a flavor that finishes without lingering artificial notes. That clarity comes from its fermentation process, where time is the main ingredient. Every batch is aged under controlled conditions, where temperature and humidity matter. The environment mimics traditional Japanese breweries, calm, consistent, focused on quality over speed. And it's not just flavor, it's nutritional integrity too. Naturally brewed soy sauce contains natural glutamates, not synthetic MSG or enhancers. Those natural compounds work with food, creating a harmony of taste that industrial sauces just can't replicate. It also plays well with delicate ingredients, like tofu, fresh vegetables, or steamed fish, enhancing them without overpowering. Even eggs and rice, the most basic meals, get elevated with just a splash. It's this kind of depth that turns simple cooking into something memorable. And in a world of shortcuts and additives, Kikkoman's naturally brewed soy sauce stands as a quiet commitment to doing things right. No marketing gimmicks, no gold foil, just tradition in a bottle. So if there's only one soy sauce to keep in the kitchen, let it be this one. Because when fermentation is respected, flavor takes care of itself. Safe. Pick 2. Yamasa soy sauce, a legacy of fermentation. Yamasa has been brewing soy sauce in Japan since the 1600s. Yes, centuries. And it shows. Their process hasn't caved to modern pressure. It still involves traditional fermentation, careful aging, and absolutely no chemical shortcuts. Located in Choy, Japan, Yamasa's facilities take full advantage of ocean air and steady temperatures. What that means is consistency and natural conditions that support fermentation instead of rushing it. The ingredients list is refreshingly simple: whole soybeans, roasted wheat, sea salt, and water. That's it. No corn syrup, no caramel coloring, no flavor enhancers in disguise. When poured, it moves with a natural viscosity. It smells rich, like roasted grains and aged umami. Taste it and the difference is immediate. It's balanced. Not just salty, but sweet, savory, and complex. Chefs love it for sushi, sashimi, and light dishes where the sauce can't overwhelm. It enhances rather than masks. And that's the magic of real soy sauce. What's most impressive is that Yamasa doesn't slap on premium marketing labels or flashy claims. It doesn't need to. The taste speaks for itself. It's traditional, patient, and deeply satisfying. Let's face it, the world of soy sauce has become a minefield. Between industrial shortcuts, deceptive labels, and health-damaging additives, choosing the wrong bottle can mean trading nutrition for convenience and flavor for chemicals. But armed with the right knowledge, making the right choice becomes easy. Skip the overly processed, acid-hydrolyzed, artificially enhanced brands. Forget the fancy packaging that hides cheap production methods. Instead, go for what's real, what's aged, what's been crafted with patience and care. Because in the end, it's not just about flavor. It's about what you're putting into your body and serving your loved ones. So next time you're shopping for soy sauce, flip that bottle over, read the label, check the ingredients. Trust the process, not the marketing. If this deep dive helped uncover some truth in your pantry, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, subscribe for more honest food breakdowns, and turn on notifications so you never miss another expose. And drop a comment. What's the worst soy sauce you've ever tasted, or your go-to favorite? Let's build a smarter food community together. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, eat real.